Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Turning College Stress into Employee Engagement, sponsored by College Coach. My name is Patrick Donovan, and I'm the General Manager here at College Coach. I'll be moderating today's webinar. We're talking to you today from the Bright Horizons home office here in Watertown, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. It's a beautiful day here. And I'm thrilled to see how many of you have decided to join us from so many different industries and different parts of the country. It's great to see the audience that we have here assembled today. We have an excellent lineup of experts to talk with you, and I'm going to work hard to make this an informative, interesting, and helpful session. As you're hopefully aware, or certainly will be after this webinar, College Coach is the leading provider of educational advisory services to employers in the United States. We improve employee well-being, productivity, and engagement by helping employees reach the educational goals that they have for their children. Now, before we begin, let me take care of a couple of housekeeping details. The webinar will be about 60 minutes long, including 15 to 20 minutes at the end to answer as many questions as we can that we get during the session. So to send in those questions, if you're looking at your screen, there's a number of widgets on the bottom. You can play with those during the session. The most important one I want to highlight to you is the red one in the left-hand corner. That is the Q&A box. Click that, type in any question you have, and send that to us during the session. You can direct it to a specific speaker if you like. And again, at the end, we will get to as many as we possibly can. There's some other widgets there. You can click on our Twitter feed to see you can follow Bright Horizons at BH at Work if you'd like on Twitter. You can follow College Coach on Twitter at CollegeCoachBH. And also, if you have any technical difficulties throughout the webcast, you can click on the Help button to the far right, or you could send in questions in the same question submission box I showed you in the beginning, and our tech support will answer them. At the end of this webcast, we're going to ask you to complete an evaluation survey. This will appear in a pop-up window, so please turn off your pop-up blockers if you can. We take your feedback very seriously and run these every couple months, so we really appreciate the feedback you give us. And finally, at the end of this webinar, we're going to announce a special drawing for all of today's attendees are eligible for, so please make sure you stay till the end. All right, to make this webinar as interactive as possible and make sure you pay attention, we're going to sprinkle in some audience polls. So here's the first one. How stressed about college do you think your employees are for those that have children? So you can see on your screen, click the radio button next to the answer that best fits you and your organization. You can see the answers are not at all stressed, a little stressed, moderately stressed, extremely stressed, and I'm amazed they can even get out of bed to come to work. So feel free to hit that one if you like. The answers are coming in. Again, how stressed about college do you think your employees are? We're very interested in this, obviously. Thank you for submitting the answers, and we're going to push those results as soon as we get a majority of folks answering. And here come the results. Wow, that's a cool curve. As you can see, the majority feel there is a little bit of stress out there. Moderately stressed, a quarter of you, extremely stressed, a little bit. I can tell you personally on this question, it's actually a big part of the reason I'm actually here at College Coach is because of the growing stress I was feeling personally. My wife and I have 4 children, ages 8 to 14, and I knew the college landscape was very different than when I applied. And I've always been interested in education and actually helped found an alternative high school for at-risk youth. But I'd been in high tech for 15 years. When this opportunity came about to join College Coach, I really jumped at it because I thought it would be the best way for me personally to address the stress I was feeling, and I can tell you I have been blown away by the expertise here at College Coach. Now, this is not a recruiting webinar, but it's clear from the poll results here that many of you perceive this college stress in your own employees that I personally felt. Okay, let's move on, and let me introduce the speakers who are with me today. Again, my name is Patrick Donovan, and I'm the General Manager of College Coach. It's my job to make sure we're providing the highest quality of service and best college admissions and financial advice in the country. And I'm thrilled to be joined by an outstanding panel of experts for today's session. It includes Beth Heaton, Robert Weinerman, and Donna Fioravanti. Beth Heaton was a senior admissions officer at the University of Pennsylvania, and she was the chairperson of the selection committee. She's also an alumna of Cornell University. Robert Weinerman worked as a senior financial aid officer for over 10 years at MIT and Babson College, and Robert's also a graduate of MIT. Both Beth and Robert have been referenced multiple times this year in USA Today, the Wall Street Journal, and other major media outlets. These are truly the experts. Donna Fioravanti is an HR executive at Novartis Pharmaceuticals Corporation. Donna has overall responsibility for developing the strategy and implementing the communications plans for all North America HR services, including operations, comp and benefits, corporate health, payroll, and time management. Donna's been with NPC for nearly 10 years. Obviously, we're very excited Donna's here today. Thank you, Donna. I appreciate it greatly. And I know the audience will too, since they're made up of HR executives like yourself and really want to hear what you have to say. Now, here's the agenda of what we're going to cover in today's webinar. First, I want to give a very brief overview of College Coach so you understand the perspective we're bringing to this webinar. Then, Robert and Beth will join me to review some of the major drivers in the current college landscape that are causing the employee stress that you guys talked about in that first poll. After that, Beth's going to go through a sampling of what we do for employees that helps around admissions to help them relieve the stress, feel more control of the process, and get a better outcome. And then Robert will do the exact same thing for what we do on the financial aid side. Saving the best for last, Donna's going to take us through her decision process and her experience with College Coach and how it's helping her achieve the HR goals at Novartis. And then finally at the end, we'll have a Q&A session we talked about. Typically when we do these, we do get a ton of questions and try to get through as many as we can, so please continue to send in questions. You can just send one in now just to practice. It's okay if it's not a really good question. Throw it in there, and but keep them going because we want to really make this relevant for you guys. We appreciate your time, so make it as interesting for you by asking the questions you want to hear about. Okay, brief introduction on College Coach. So College Coach was founded in 1998 to address the fact that the college process is difficult and expensive and something that's negatively impacting employees with children. We have grown to become the largest provider of employer-assisted educational advisory services in the country. Just like Bright Horizons founded the idea of employer-assisted childcare, College Coach founded the idea of employer-assisted educational advisory. And in fact, in 2006, we were acquired by Bright Horizons to become part of the family of solutions here today. As you can see on this list, we have customers within all industries, and actually it maps really well to the wide number of people from different industries listening right now. Again, legal, manufacturing, high-tech, medical, you can read the list there. We also have clients with as few as 400 employees and as large as 300,000. So an important part of our service is that we customize what we do to meet the specific characteristics and goals of each one of our clients. You know, I'm sure you guys saw this week that Working Mother just came out, just released this year's list of the top companies to work for as a working mother. And I'm very proud to say that 22 of these top 100 are College Coach clients. 80 are Bright Horizons clients, by the way. It's even better. Okay, what makes College Coach unique? The core of our company is the team of former admissions officers and former college financial aid officers, like Robert and Beth here with me today, from some of the most selective schools in the nation. These are the folks who have read thousands of applications and have been the admissions decision maker or the financial aid decision maker at the schools you see on the slide now. So it's not that they went to these schools, it's that they worked at these schools. In total, the admissions team has decided on over 200,000 applications before coming to College Coach. And on the financial aid side, they decided and awarded more than $1 billion in financial aid before coming to College Coach. So they know the process from the inside. They develop all our content. They deliver the content so your employees know that they're getting help from an impartial expert whose goals are simply to minimize that employee's stress and give them and improve their outcomes as much as possible. Okay, I like the questions coming in. Keep doing it. Now, so the expert team has put together over 25 different topics around this idea of helping employees reach the educational goals they have for their children. And clients get to choose which topics they want to offer their employees each year. As you can see, they're organized into finance, school age, and admissions clusters. I won't go through every single one of them, but what you see is the title of the topic, for example, saving and paying for college, and underneath would be the target audience, so employees with newborns all the way through 12th grade would get something out of saving and paying for college. It gets into how to properly set up your savings plan so they'll get you most aid when you get to actually applying for aid at the end of your paying for college time when your employees' children are seniors. Actually, the topic you see in finance on the bottom, education loan repayment strategies, is new this year and came from feedback we got from one of our legal customers. And they had lawyers coming into their firm with over $100,000 in law school debt. And it was very distracting, obviously tremendously impacting on their well-being, and asked us to put together some content to help them get a handle on this so that they don't default and they can manage that payment each month. And so we put together that topic this year, which has been very well received. For school age, you can see we've got homework and study skills and middle school matters to help folks get on a solid footing before entering into high school. And then 100% of our customers, all of them, get the admissions topic beating the admissions game, which with the subtopics you see listed there in terms of high school plan, choosing the right college, and preparing college applications, we help your employees understand the tips, tricks, strategies, and ways that they can maximize their child's admission success while minimizing the family stress. All right, let's look at how your employees would access this expertise. So we have a three-part approach. We have workplace events, which can be either on-site or webinar. And actually, the picture on the left is from an actual event that happened last month at Chevron. Funny story about that. We knew we had a lot of employees coming, but a security problem happened when 50 family members showed up, and we didn't have a room big enough for the 50 family members that also wanted to watch Beth Heaton, actually. No, it wasn't Beth. To watch the road to college. So we had to get a new room quickly and all these chairs. So I love that picture. These events, these workshops set a baseline of information about the topic at hand and can be very popular, like at Chevron. This summer at IBM, we had 1,200 people register and 680 attend a single webinar we did on the road to college. Okay, that provides the baseline. Then the employee goes home, picture on the right, to engage with our Learning Center. So we have all the videos, the resources, the FAQs, so they can review it at home with their spouse or their children as much as they want, as often as they want, not on company time, all things we all like, and really go back and back and back to it to get those questions answered. Finally, in the middle, we have one-on-one counseling available so that your employees can get a one-on-one session with someone like Beth or Robert to ask those personal questions around either admissions or finance that you wouldn't ask in a group topic. So this combination of group events, one-on-one counseling, and the Learning Center allows employees to efficiently and effectively get the help that they need. Okay. Over our 14 years, this approach of experts delivering the content in the ways I just described is proven to lower employee stress and improve productivity. We ruthlessly survey our attendees to our events, as well as everyone who does a one-on-one counseling session gets a survey. And what you're looking at now are the combined results year-to-date through August across all our customers. And I'm not going to read you every single number on the page, but I'll pick out a couple. So the first one, 89% of participants say College Coach reduces stress. Just to give you a quick story on that one that just came in 2 weeks ago, we got an email from an employee at Pepsi who had a one-on-one session with a member of our finance team, and this is what she wrote back. Hi, Robin. We spoke some time ago when I asked you about the financial aid appeal process for my daughter Kathleen, who's currently attending her second year at Sacred Heart University in Fairfield, Connecticut. I just want to give you an update and let you know that we indeed received an additional grant in the amount of $3,000 a year. Thank you for your guidance and recommendations. I used your suggestions when writing the appeal letter, and obviously they worked. Thank you so much. That was an employee from PepsiCo just 2 weeks ago. So you can clearly see that that employee has definitely reduced stress level from not having to pay $3,000 that she would have had she not had the one-on-one session. Just a couple other ones. So the productivity is the second one. So 70% of participants report that they save 4 hours of time for every hour they spend with College Coach. You don't have employees frantically searching through Google for what's the best 529 plan, or how do I get into whatever, or what essay topic should I not do. If they Googled that, they'd see Beth's article actually in USA Today. But they can just talk to Beth directly and get that information. So there's a productivity angle to it. And actually my favorite one on this chart is the 97% of participants that experience increased positive feelings about working for their employer as a result of College Coach. You know, your employees just wouldn't really be able to get access to the kind of experts we can bring to bear. And it's such an emotional process. I know it is with my children. And you yearn for them to have success in life, and being able to feel like you have more control of the process and a better outcome really makes them appreciate the employer that brought that expert to help them. And so I have a whole stack here of testimonials, and you saw some at the beginning of the presentation. If we have time at the end, I'm going to point out one or two of those as well. Okay, enough about College Coach and the intro. We're done with that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to transition to talk about a couple of points that help set the stage for why the current college landscape is creating the stress that we talked about at the first poll. And I'm going to ask Beth and Robert's help with me in this section. But first, as you think about your employees' well-being, here are some of the pressures they're feeling related to college based on our work. First one, how can I pay my loans? So we all see these stories week after week of tremendous debt that folks are coming out of college with. I already talked to you about our legal clients with the new lawyers coming in with over $100,000 in debt. That's obviously a tremendous impact. And then from there, they worry about how can I save enough for my children's education. Robert's going to get into some of the details of what college costs now and in the future, and that's a real concern. Third one's around selectivity, and what do I have to do so that my 4 children get accepted to the college I want them to go to? And what can I do to help besides, well, I tell you what I did. I came to work as a college coach. Last one, how much debt will my children have? And the last one, how long will my children have to live with me after college? You're all muted, so I can't hear you laughing because it's kind of a joke, but it's kind of not a joke because, again, if you think about the pressures on your employees and elder care, and now they have their children who they sent to college and now coming back and living in their house. I mean, there's just a lot of things there. So there are real pressures on the employees, and we are striving to address each of these points you see here. So just to help me shed some more light on the landscape and why folks are feeling this pressure, I'm going to turn it over to Robert right now to go over some of the college finance pressures.
Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate that. Glad to have an opportunity to talk a little bit about this. When I was thinking about how to talk about this particular slide, which shows us how much college has increased in price, above other things. I think it's important to note that this is an inflation-adjusted figure that shows us that over the last 30 years, private college tuition costs have increased 2.8 times as much as everything else did. And when we were thinking about this, it occurred to me that we could figure out in real dollars what that was, and that's actually 7 times. In the last 30 years, private colleges have increased their tuition 700% in the dollars that people spend. The equivalent for private colleges is 9.4 or 940%. I remember I went to school at the beginning of this time period. I entered college in 1983, and I remember rioting over tuition. And I worked for the most expensive college in the United States at the time. Tuition was $7,000, and we were marching down the hallways saying, no more tuition increases. And that school is now charging over $30,000. So, your employees are facing a scenario where even if they were successful in funding their own education, they can't use that as a model to fund their children's educations because the prices have just increased so much more than anything else. And those prices look like this. These are the average costs for undergraduate educations last year. We're anticipating the numbers are going to increase 5 to 10% this year. And the thing that strikes me most about this is the hardworking young person who got a really good summer job and brought in a couple of $1,000s and worked on campus, and maybe they sacrificed and shared a dormitory room with 3 other people. And years ago, many of your employees, if they were really hardworking, they could do it themselves. They didn't need to turn to their parents. And they can't do that anymore. Even at the 2-year colleges, the numbers have gotten so big that the students can't do it anymore. And parents are being tapped out by the basic support of their homes. Their home equity might be underwater. So they're looking at these 1-year big numbers, and they're facing they can't rely on their own experiences, and they can't expect their kids can do it on their own. So they're just trying to figure out what are they going to do. And it just gets worse when you realize these are 1-year numbers, and the 4-year process is even bigger. To get a basic in-state 4-year degree, it costs just under $100,000. And remember, this is for the years that began last year. Your employees will have kids entering schools in a couple of years. I'm sure in a couple of years, the 4-year public school is going to be at the $100,000 rate. In financial aid, we used to have this joke, and that was that paying for college is probably everyone's second most expensive purchase in their lives, because after the home, college is the next most expensive purchase. But we're actually getting to a point where for many people in many areas of the country, college will be the largest purchase they ever make. And imagine, what it's like for your employees who might have 9th or 10th graders facing another home purchase, or 2 or 3 if they have many, many kids going forward. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Patrick.
Yeah, I have to breathe for a minute, though, because I have 4 children. Okay. Another division here at Bright Horizons is Horizons Workforce Consulting, and they actually did a study recently, last year, a U.S. panel, to give some data around this about how much stress folks are feeling, employees are feeling about financing their children's education. So what you're looking at is the percent of workforce that cited this factor as a significant source of stress. So starting from the bottom, a third said it was a significant source of stress. Now, that includes folks that don't even have children, which I think is funny. So the next level up, folks with children, over half, say it's a significant source of stress. Again, it's not moderate source of stress or a little source, but significant. And then those with teenagers, 6 out of 10. So clearly there's data there, and if you're interested in that data, we have additional data from the Workforce Consulting Group we can share. All right, that was a sobering but accurate and helpful presentation of the landscape on finance. Beth, I'm going to turn over to Beth to give a couple points on the current college landscape around admissions.
Sure. Thanks, Patrick. So in addition to the stress of paying for college, there's an incredible amount of stress about actually even getting into college in the first place. And if you're wondering why, you can just take a look at the statistics on this slide here. In 1 year, 2010 to 2011 alone, we saw double-digit rises in application numbers at both private, which are the ones you seem to hear about a lot, and public institutions. So here, Columbia went up 25%, University of Wisconsin up 15%, Washington University in St. Louis up 12%. So huge rises. And then in addition to that, huge rise in application numbers. Next slide. We're also seeing how the acceptance rates dropped in response to those increased numbers. More students are applying. The ones who are applying are submitting more applications, but the colleges haven't increased the number of spaces available to those students. And that leads to incredible uncertainty and can make people feel like even the very best students have very little chance of getting into the college of their choice or even to college in general.
Okay, thanks, Beth. So what we saw in that summary of the landscape is college is more expensive than ever. It's more difficult than ever to get in because of these trends of more applications being submitted, greater population growth. And so those are some real factors why folks legitimately feel more stressed about the college process and why it's impacting their well-being. So hopefully, so we all feel a little better, we're now going to go into things we do that help. And we're going to start with Beth going through some of the things that help on the admission side, and then we're going to go through some things that help on the finance side. Before we do that, I just want to encourage folks, we got several questions came in. Please continue to send those questions, either about data questions you have about the current college landscape or anything that Beth and Robert go through in these next sections, so we can have a lot to go through in that Q&A section. Okay, Beth, take it away. Help us with admissions.
Sure. So before we get started on that piece of things, we were curious to find out how many colleges you personally applied to back when you applied to college. So we have a few choices here. You didn't apply to college. Maybe you applied to 1. Maybe you applied to somewhere between 2 and 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, more than 15. I would find it hard to believe that anybody had applied to more than 15, but it's possible. So we're just going to wait until those responses come in and then push those results. Okay, great. So what we can clearly see here is that basically 3/4 of you applied to somewhere between 2 and 5, which I think is pretty common. And a few, nobody, as I predicted, applied to more than 15. A few applied to between 10 and 15. What might interest you is that if we gave this same poll to parents or employees who have high school students right now, that their responses would probably be somewhere between the 5 to 10 or maybe even 10 to 15 in terms of the number of colleges their kids applied to. Adding to the stress of those statistics I showed you earlier is the fact that the application process itself is much more complicated than it was 20-plus years ago. There's more writing. Back in the day at many schools, you just filled out your name and important information, and you mailed in that application. Simple, done. Those that required an essay 20 years ago now can require as many as 4 or 5 in both short and long form. And the people most employees will turn to for help are their high school guidance counselors, but most of them are pretty overworked and underpaid. The average student to guidance counselor ratio in this country is 475 to 1, which is a little scary. It can be tough to even get in to see that person. And even then, they may not always know what colleges are really looking for or have informed opinions about things like course selection or extracurricular involvement, testing options. So that's where we come in. We've worked in admissions, we know the facts, and we understand the nuance. And one of the first things that I always say, and I know my colleagues do too when I present an admissions topic at a workplace event is, relax, your child is going to get into college, most likely more than one. And for some people, that's actually a big question mark. So one of the biggest sources of stress is really the uncertainty around what even happens to applications. I will hear things like, I heard that if your SAT scores are not at a certain level, they automatically deny the student. Or my neighbor said that her daughter got into Yale simply because of her essay. Or, and I heard this 2 days ago on a phone one-on-one with a mother who said, well, my son's a B student, and I'm really concerned. Is he even going to get into college? Do they even read the application, or do they just look at the numbers and say yes or no? In order to combat that uncertainty, we explain, and we have this slide is in basically every admissions-related piece that we do, but we really try to explain to them how it works, what happens once that application gets sent to the college. How do colleges view each piece of the application, from the quantitative elements, which include the grades, the rigor of the curriculum, and the test scores, to the qualitative side of things, which is, i.e., the rest that we have there, what the student says about herself in her essay, what he does outside of the classroom, what her recommendation writers say about her, a good match between the student's goals for his college career and what the institution has to offer, whether or not a college encourages visiting campus or tracks that, and interviewing if that's something available at that school. They're often very relieved to know that at more than 85% of the colleges in this country, the decision is going to be fairly predictable. If the school is admitting more students than it turns away, and your child is within, or the employee's child is within the middle 50% for grades and test scores, they can feel pretty good about his chances. And I usually see a nice deep breath in the audience at that point. The more selective you get, the more important the rest is going to become. And at the most selective schools in the country, where the vast majority of applicants will have the grades, rigor, and test scores, the rest really becomes the deciding factor, the place where a student can stand out. Of course, the next question employees start asking themselves is, well, how can my child stand out? And even though they have a better understanding of what happens to the application once their child presses send, they still worry about that application being as strong as it can possibly be, and that they're not missing something important as they go through the process. They need reliable advice from us while they're making those important decisions, and they can't always get it from the guidance counselor. Last year I spoke with a father whose daughter was applying to engineering programs. She planned to take honors anatomy and physiology as her senior science, but when I worked at Penn, I knew I'd reviewed thousands of engineering applicants, and AP Physics was something we looked for in every one of those. So I talked to the father about that. He went back to the guidance counselor. She was able to sign up for AP Physics and ended up being accepted to the University of Michigan, which was her top choice, to their engineering program. And I can't say specifically that that choice meant that she got admitted, but I can say that her application was far more competitive with AP Physics than it would have been with the other course she was thinking about taking. During our one-on-ones, we talk about everything from that course selection to the best person to write someone's letter of recommendation to, as Patrick was mentioning earlier, essay topics that you want to avoid, and trying to come up with more unique topics for their kids to write about, to the best ideas for summer activities for kids who are interested in some of the most selective schools. We really do cover a wide range of topics when it comes to admissions. Another big stress for families is figuring out where to apply and how many applications to submit. They read stories in the newspaper about students applying to 25 or more schools and not getting in anywhere, and they start to panic and they think their kids are going to need to submit 30 or more applications. They want to leave all their options open because they're afraid they're going to miss out on a great school if they don't, but we help them understand that you really do have to. At some point, you've got to start narrowing down. So we talk through the focus. Where in the country does your child want to be? Do they want a big school, a small school, a medium-sized school? What does your child want to study? If he or she is undecided, what are some areas of interest? What are the students' grades, test scores, extracurricular activities? And we work with the employees to take all of this information and put together a list of schools that fit those criteria. And the options have balance. They're a combination of reaches, of matches, of safeties, and we recommend having that same balance in the final list of schools. So it makes them feel like, oh, okay, well, we had more than 3,700 schools in the country to choose from. We give them a list of maybe 30, and then they narrow down from there. And incidentally, we recommend no more than 10, usually a baseline of 7, but no more than 10. And so they walk away feeling much more in control of the process. Finally, we help employees understand that, contrary to what they might read or feel, their child actually does control quite a bit of this process, starting, of course, with where they choose to apply, but starting much, much earlier, even with the courses that they choose to take and how they do in school, the essays that they write, the activities that they get involved in, and the people they ask to write their letters of recommendation. All of these things are under the student's control. Feeling in control means they feel less stressed out. And when employees find out that we can help with a huge chunk of this, we can help with the essays, we can answer questions about course choice and activities and recommendation writers, they feel even better.
Okay, I'm starting to feel better. Thank you, Beth.
That's good.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So hopefully that gives you a taste of the insider perspective. When Beth Heaton gets in front of a room and says, when I did admissions at University of Pennsylvania, everyone pays attention. And they really appreciate the advice that they get. Before we jump to Robert, we got another thank you note, actually the same week we got the one from Pepsi, from an employee at IBM. I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but it was to Marge. I'll just read you part of it. Hey, Marge, just going through some old emails and thought I'd give you a quick update as you were instrumental in helping make the whole college thing happen. I find it hard to believe, but Julianne started the first day of her junior year at UNC yesterday. She loves it. She's studying journalism with a minor in Spanish and spent 6 weeks in the summer studying abroad in Spain, so on and so forth. I've spoken in glowing terms of you and the College Coach program time and time again to my colleagues here at IBM. Now, what's important about that is she's giving us a thank you for her daughter who is in her junior year. So it's a thank you note coming 2.5 years later. And they remember the help they got, appreciative of it, and it ends with, hopes all is well with you and your family. It's just really, again, back to that point about how emotional this is and how much help we do provide. We love getting these emails, and we get them all the time. Okay, now we're going to give you a sense of what can help on the finance side. Again, Robert has a long history of doing financial aid at MIT. And among other places. So, Robert, take it away.
Great. Thanks again, Patrick. Before we begin, I think we'd like to do another question, just to get a sense of those of you who went to college and borrowed or have children who borrowed. We're interested in knowing how long did it take you to repay those loans? And if you were lucky enough not to have borrowed, let us know that as well. But we'd be interested in your loan repayment experience. Okay, I hope everyone has had a chance to answer. I know this is a scary one to answer because it can bring up some tough memories. It took me quite a while to do it. Are we ready to display the answers? Wow. Again, I think the landscape's a little bit different today. It's a nice curve here that the longer the time period is, the smaller number of people who repaid their debts. But if we were to ask the students today or recent graduates and ask them how long do you anticipate it's going to take to repay your loans, I think we'd see a little bit more of a bell curve in this picture with the numbers between 5 and 10 and 10, 15 probably being the winners. Because as we saw on those earlier slides, colleges become very expensive. And the amount that students have been turning to borrow to has been getting so large that it's much more difficult to go to college without debt or without debt that takes 10 or 15 years to pay back than it used to be. And the press is filled with these stories of these young people who graduate with tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's a kind of a case celebre here in Boston about a social worker who decided she wanted to go to a private college, borrowed $200,000 to get a bachelor's in social work, and was complaining that she could only find a job that paid $35,000 a year. And so we have to recognize that we're in an environment where borrowing is a big piece of many people's financing. And one of the reasons it's a big piece is the costs are just getting bigger and bigger. Now, I'm someone that could talk forever about college finance. I think it's fascinating. If I don't have a clock in the workshop room that I'm doing, I keep going and going and going. I could talk for hours. Patrick is putting his watch in front of me to keep me from waxing poetic. But I think there's a lot to talk about when we talk about what the cost of college might be in the future. These are our estimates of what college might cost in 5, 10, or 15 years. And you can imagine if you're a 25-year-old parent of a 3-year-old and you're looking at this and you'd love them to go to your private school alma mater, and we're telling you that to pay for 4 years when your 3-year-old goes to college, you need to come up with $325,000 a year, and you're paying for child care for this child because you and your partner or spouse are working, and you want to buy enrichment activities, and you're thinking about religious education, and you're thinking about maybe having them go to private education. It just doesn't come together. And what we do when we talk to people who have young children is point out that most people don't pay these sticker prices. Most people find ways to pay less. And we take the position that you could choose to pay $325,000 in 15 years, but we're going to tell you from the very beginning, whether you have a newborn or an 11th grader, ways that you can manage this. And the goal of the College Coach Finance Program is to help people figure out how much they can comfortably afford without creating a huge debt burden for their children. And then, partnered with our colleagues on the admissions team, let's find an education that comes in about that price, rather than the typical approach, which is let's look at how we can come up with $325,000 in 15 years, even if that means we're going to borrow $200,000 of it. One of the interesting things of my job, and one of the things I feel privileged about, in fact, when I was at MIT, a colleague and I used to kind of bang our heads together and say, if only we'd had a chance to talk to this family when their kids were 4 years old, we could have prevented this problem from happening, is we have an opportunity to give people a realistic idea about what financial aid will and won't do. This table here shows us what the answer to a financial aid application might be for a family of 4, whether that's headed by 1 adult or 2, it doesn't matter. The income column on the left shows various income places, and across the top we have some savings accumulation rates. And the thing I think is really interesting is if you just look at that second column where people have no assets, those numbers get pretty big pretty fast. If you've got an employee who's head of household and the household has $100,000 of income coming in, they're facing at least an $18,500 cost, even if they haven't saved a dime for college. Now, I usually run into a couple of kinds of people when I talk to people. Some of them make much more than these figures, but are convinced that they're going to be eligible for financial aid. And some of them make $100,000 and are wondering how they're going to come up with the $60,000 a year it costs to send their kids to a private school. And in both cases, we're positioned to give people a reality check. I can tell the people who think they're going to get financial aid that they need to think it differently. They either have to look at schools that might recruit their kids with scholarships or expect to pay more. And I can give a lot of relief to the person who's making $100K who thinks they're facing a $60,000 cost and say, no, very few colleges that cost $60,000 are you going to think you can afford more than about $20,000. I mean, going back to my MIT days, I remember a woman called me up adamant that we'd made a mistake on the financial aid application. She earned about $1.2 million. This was on her W-2. But she'd also provided us with 72 pages of Quicken budget showing she'd spent that $1.2 million. And so she felt at the end of the day, she had no money left and it should be free. So there's a lot of misconceptions about financial aid. And when we can tell people what's actually operating, they get a lot of relief. the focus of our conversations is let's get everybody else to pay as much as we can, and then we'll figure out how to come up with your share. So we can help people identify the best ways to get scholarships both from colleges and from outside sources. We can give them ideas about how they can reduce the duration of their children's education through placement exams or taking courses at community colleges. It's 75% cheaper to pay for 3 years of college and get a bachelor's degree instead of 4. And it's a very valid strategy that people can use. And we give some real reality on the need-based side. And we're getting into this kind of new discussion. It's becoming more and more important to us. And there's been a real transition since 2008. And we all know what happened in 2008. Before 2008, a lot of these conversations we would have would be, I want to pay as much as possible. I'm willing to pay as much as possible for my son or daughter's dream school. Now the question is, I don't have home equity to borrow against. I'm getting close to retirement, and my 401k is worth 80% of what it was 4 years ago. I don't want to overspend for college. There was a USDA, a Department of Agriculture survey a couple of months ago, and they estimated that it takes $200,000 to raise a child from being born to being 18 years old. And it occurred to me that that means people are paying about $10,000 a year to raise their kids. And if you think about it, if they're paying for child care, religious education, athletics or music activities, if they send their kids to private education, they're pouring money into their children. They're investing in their kids. And one of the things we do is we point out to them that they're already spending thousands of dollars for their kids. And when their kids go off to college, they're not going to be paying that private school anymore. They're not going to be paying child care anymore. They're not going to be paying the athletic costs anymore. The college is going to pick those costs up, and they're going to be sending that money to college. So we can usually help people identify, there's a lot of money I'm already spending, and I'm not starting from zero here, even if I don't have savings. I actually have a lot of ability to pay for college. And we've found that this is very effective in helping people feel a lot better about their prospects. And it also helps them put some limits on what they're looking at so their kids aren't going to be the next celebrated story in a city about a student who got an unproductive degree for a huge amount of money that wasn't necessary. So I hope that you think about how the finance, if you have any questions about how we do our finance program and how it might relate to your employees, you'll add them to the questions list that's coming in. But I'm going to pass it back to Patrick to introduce Donna.
Okay, great. Thanks, Robert. That was terrific. We're coming up to the top of the hour, Donna. We're going to get into your content right now. Last poll, my favorite poll, I promise is the last one. Is your company planning to add educational advising services like those offered by College Coach within a certain time frame? If you wouldn't mind just answering that question, this will be the last poll, and then we'll get into our content from Donna. But this is one I'm obviously very curious about myself personally. And we are going to push the results now. So the choices are, within 6 to 90%, no current plans. All right, there's the challenge, Donna. Okay, we won't do this poll at the end, but I'm expecting that after this, we would see a big change in this. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Donna Fiorante. Again, she is XR executive at Novartis. Donna, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Patrick, and thanks for allowing me to talk today at your webinar. As you know, I'm very enthusiastic about the College Coach benefit at Novartis. And just a little bit of background about Novartis. We were created in 1996 through the merger of two companies, Ciba-Geigy and Sandoz, and we are a large pharmaceutical organization, and we're recognized for research and development of products that protect and improve the health and well-being of people worldwide. And our core business is pharmaceuticals. We also have business in vaccine, consumer health products, a generic company, which is kind of unusual for a branded pharmaceutical company to own a generics company. So that kind of sets us apart. We also have an Alcon eye care company and a diagnostic tools company. Our headquarters is in Basel, Switzerland, and we have the U.S. headquarters in New Jersey, where I work. And we employ approximately 123,000 people in the U.S. Globally, and we have about 25,000 in the U.S. And our benefits program, our strategy is to provide associates with access to high-quality benefits, which include your traditional health and insurance options, retirement and savings, and work-life benefits. And it's our objective to provide both choice and flexibility to meet the needs of our very diverse workforce. And you can see that we offer quite a few work-life benefits. I'm sure most of you might offer some of those as well. The decision to add and maintain a college coach offering. So we identified the need for additional work-life services for our associates with school-age children, especially for those who had high school-age children who would be entering college. And we also provide a very robust backup child care program and a match on a flexible spending account. So we felt that there was a gap for this group of people. Our long-term partnership with College Coach started back in 2006. We had been receiving calls and from one of the College Coach representatives, just for us to asking us to take a look at the benefit that they felt that it would be, a great thing for Novartis. So back in 2006, we started our partnership, and we've also within the pharmaceuticals division, and we've expanded into Sandoz, the generics company, and our animal health business in North Carolina. And we feel that it builds on our commitment to social responsibility and also contributes to employee engagement by minimizing the employee stress and distraction issues, especially the stress that's associated with a first child going to college. And I can absolutely attest to that. I think by my second child, I was a little calmer, even though I didn't want to see her go off anywhere to college. But the first one was definitely a little bit more stressful. So the topics that we offer here at Novartis, we started out with 3 core programs: Saving for College, Paying for College, and years ago Beating the Admissions Game was called The Road to College, and it's since been expanded. And then we also offer 2 webinars, the homework and study skills. It's the associates, the bachelor's beginning in a 2-year school, and also schools out setting the plan for the summer. Those were 2 webinars that we offered. And we also added later on the homework and study skills and middle school matters. And so we not only focus on providing the workshops for high school age children, we also expand it to meet the needs of other children. So we've had strong employee participation, and we offer workplace events, resource fairs, the virtual learning center, and scheduled one-on-one appointments. So our workplace events are on-site, and we also open up a conference calling line for anyone who wants to dial in. We've also utilized College Coach at our sales meetings, and I think this is maybe a little bit different than anything that they've talked about so far, where we'll have a sales meeting and we hold what we call a resource fair. So not only will they give the workshop, their presentation, after the workshop we'll have a table set up for College Coach along with our other internal functions, and the employees will ask College Coach questions, and I can attest to the fact, because I've been at some of these sales meetings, that College Coach table is very busy, and there's a lot of activity and a lot of questions, and College Coach is really always very willing to help our associates. So some of the results, the survey results for Novartis, we have great results. College Coach is definitely, since 2006, it's built quite a reputation for itself, and our employees, there's a lot of buzz around Novartis when College Coach is in town. So our associates really look forward to College Coach when they come on campus to do the workshops. And I'll just go through some of these testimonials so you can read through them. Okay. But as far as myself, I've used College Coach for both my children, and I think that really the value with College Coach for me was that my kids were very nervous. The whole family was a little uptight about, junior year when we had to start planning for college. And I scheduled the one-on-one appointment, and I included my child. So my son and daughter felt very comfortable with their College Coach. They felt very special that they had someone that was interested in their college and helping them and very knowledgeable. Also, we've had other experiences within our own HR organization. Our HR vice president of HR, College Coach helped her as well with her son. And we've also, one other thing that I'd like to point out, that we had a international assignee who was in, I believe he was in China, and he was looking to come over to the U.S. to take a position here. And he had a high school age child and just, very confused about what to do. And as far as college and College Coach, we set up a one-on-one, and the College Coach representative really helped him understand the college landscape in the United States and where his child might fit in should he take the position in East Hanover.
Excellent.
Okay, so so that's it, Patrick. Thank you.
Donna, that was terrific. Thank you so much for going through that for the audience. I really appreciate it. I know they do too. I know we're just hit the top of the hour, which is what we booked. We're going to continue for as long as folks want to stay. Shouldn't say. We're going to continue for several minutes. I appreciate if folks can stay if they'd like. We have a lot of questions here. You are going to see a survey pop up. If you could fill that out before you leave, that would be great, because we want to make this even better next time. But hopefully you got a sense of how we can help turn the stress about college into employee engagement. I mean, if you saw that last slide from Donna, and 100% of the attendees reported increased positive feelings about Novartis, we really do help improve well-being, improve productivity, improve engagement, and hopefully you personally got something out of the last 45 minutes. But we do have several questions. I'll have to go through them while you guys answer the survey. The first question actually was for me, because I probably talked too quickly. This is from Terry. Did you say that 22 of the Working Mother winners are College Coach, or 80? The answer is both, meaning that 22 of the Working Mother 100 are College Coach customers, and 80, including the top 10, are Bright Horizons customers. So they either have a center or the backup product or College Coach. But 22 are College Coach, and 80 are Bright Horizons customers. Next question, and this is for Donna, actually. No surprise there. Donna, I'll just read it for the audience. The question is there any advice that you can give for helping get College Coach approved in your budget process?
Yeah, sure. So there's probably two key factors that you should enlist College Coach to help you. So we provided College Coach with demographics, employee demographics from our HRIS system, and they came up with a report that showed or that estimated how many associates would actually might be interested in using the benefit based on their dependents. So that was very important. I believe our average age is about 40 years old, so we did have quite a nice demographic group there that would benefit from Novartis bringing on the College Coach benefit. And then also we invited College Coach in to do a presentation to our HR team, and they were very impressed with College Coach and their credentials and their approach with their unique approach. I don't believe there's any other company on the market that does exactly what College Coach does.
Okay, thanks, Donna. Next question for Beth, and this one is from Martin, I believe. Yes, Martin. Should students take the ACT and SAT test, or is one better than the other?
This is a question that comes up at pretty much every presentation that I do, and one of the things I'll say to people is, if you take away no other message than this one, there is no preference for the ACT over the SAT or for the SAT over the ACT. One is not better than the other. It's really about what is right for your child. So it's not necessarily that I would recommend that every student take both tests. It's more that I would recommend figuring out which is the right test for the employee's child and then focusing exclusively on that test. So the colleges really just want students to hit a specific mark, and they're all going to have different levels of expectations. And if they hit that on the ACT, great. And if it's on the SAT, also fine. They don't have to hit it on both, and it doesn't have to be on one specific test or the other. One or the other will do.
Okay, great. Thanks, Beth. Quick one for Robert. Robert, here's one we got in. Question is, we already offer financial planning workshops, and so what's different about yours?
Oh, well, that's a great question. I think the biggest difference is all I do is college finance. So, I'm able to have a conversation with someone that focuses on things like financial aid, scholarships, the reality of their ability to pay. We actually run into a lot of people who have had a planner incorporate college into their plans, and those planners are often setting those big numbers as expectations. Our goal, since we're just an information service, is to make sure that people have the good information that they want to. And I kind of take them from, oh my gosh, I have to come up with $300,000 in the future, to more of a conversation around, let's realistically, what can you do, and is that going to get you to where you want to be? I can tell you, I actually studied financial planning. I was in the process of becoming a planner before I took the job with College Coach, and I did all the coursework. I just didn't sit for the exam. And it was actually 1.5 pages in the textbook on college finance. And that was a limited set of information, and I hear people tell me, oh, my financial planner told me this 1.5 pages worth of information, but there's myriads of other pieces of information that we bring to the picture to complement that. And so we're able to kind of make sure that the information people got is very solid, but also help them incorporate more information into their decision making.
Okay, great. I know Robert touched on this, but I'm going to jump in a little bit too, just to underscore the fact that, again, we are impartial. So the financial advice we give, we're not trying to invest anybody's money. We are just trying to get you the best outcome and the most freedom and flexibility and control of the process. So we really truly have an impartial view, which can be different depending on whatever the financial planning you might have at your organization. Okay, we'll just do one or maybe two more questions. Let's see. Here's another one for Donna. Donna, did you see, or is there a word of mouth effect about College Coach within Novartis?
Yes, absolutely. So College Coach, we do offer a financial education curriculum as well, just to supplement to your previous response or to the previous question. And we don't get the buzz with when we bring in our financial vendors like we do with the College Coach benefit. And there was when we first offered College Coach, we had the Road to College presentation, and I announced the speaker and sat through the session, which I had been through already, and the attendees were so excited with the presentation that I had to get him to the cafeteria before it closed, and there's like a lineup of people waiting to talk to the presenter after the presentation, and it was just going on forever that I had to go up to him and just kind of take him by the arm and say, I'm sorry, we have to go to lunch now, and I really appreciate your interest. And since that session, College Coach is everyone is always very happy to see College Coach. We just had a session this week as well here on campus.
Great. Okay, I think we do have more questions, and the folks that sent those in, we will do our best to send you an email with the answers to those questions or call you. But I did want to be respectful of folks' time and wrap up the last slide. Can you get the last slide there? There we go. I got it. Okay, so just to summarize, again, we feel very strongly here that we can do a lot to help your employees reduce their stress, improve their well-being and productivity. We can help you offer a program for your employees with older children that maybe you don't help those with teenagers today. Help with recruiting and retention. And then to appreciate, in appreciation for you guys sticking with us this way, through this whole webinar, we're going to do a drawing, and 3 of the attendees that are on still right now are going to receive a free one-on-one counseling session with one of our experts, Beth. You could request Beth. We could do that, or Robert, depending if you want finance or admissions, and get some help for yourself personally. So, again, I just really want to thank everyone who's joined us today, and especially thank Beth, Robert, and Donna, especially for presenting. I thought you all did a phenomenal job. Thank you very much. And thank you to all of you who put in your evaluation survey. We will be sending out a PDF of the slides and a link to this recording in the next few days, so you can look for that. That ends our webcast for today. Thank you all very much.